primary responsibility of the administration, whether it's Tinubu or any other person, is to address those challenges and to provide proof that we are addressing these challenges, and this is the outcome. Input, output, outcome. Some people will use the phrase in economic impact analysis, impact. We need to see the impact so that more Nigerians will not come.
Of course, as the presidency yesterday acknowledged that the country was passing through difficult times, but said it was not insensitive to the challenges the citizens were experiencing. It said the President Bola Tinubu government was making a conscious effort to address the country's economic problems and improve the lives of citizens. Mentioning existing collaborations between the federal and state governments to alleviate the hardship in the land, the presidency also highlighted steps being taken to address food insecurity in the country. Presidential spokesperson Mr. Sunday Dare made the assertions in a long statement titled "Critique Requires Fact-Driven Narratives," a response to Daily Trust editorial. The presidential media aide pointed out that many of the government's policies currently facing criticism were precisely those designed to secure a more stable, prosperous future for Nigerians. He cautioned against misrepresentations, selective projections, and alarmist narratives, emphasizing that such distortions hinder public understanding and detract from ongoing progress taking place across the country. The minister, in a statement issued via his X handle, said he had received reports from all the relevant engaged agencies regarding the altercation between the staff and crew of ValueJet and Ainde at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, on Tuesday, August 7, 2025. He noted that he had also received video footage of the incident. Minister Keyamo explained that from all the details he received so far, his preliminary impression was that it was a case of temporary loss of sanity and control on both sides, which could have led to serious fatalities. He added, and I quote, "Contrary to what the agents of K1 have said, he constantly moved his position on the tarmac to actually block the aircraft from taxiing to take position on the runway for takeoff." Meanwhile, the NCAA has officially petitioned the Attorney General of the Federation and the Inspector General of Police to launch a thorough investigation into the incident involving the musician and the domestic airline.
As regards Mr. Sunday Dare reacting, you see, I would like to beg this government. We don't sit here and just love to criticize. We criticize because things are not well. And because we're also suffering too. And I'm sure you that are responding to that, article written by the Daily Trust, you are also feeling the pain. So, Mr. Sunday Dare, in the bid of trying to react to an article, posited nothing in the end. You said Daily Trust, you were reacting to a UNICEF report, prediction that people will be now malnourished, more people will have to need food, 30 million people. You said you brought about scheme with fertilizer and everything. Can you also give us the outcome of those schemes you brought about? You see, that was just like what we were asking Dr. Zoma that came here the other day. That's okay, give us the empirical facts of what you have put in. You see, there's something called garbage in, garbage out. If you put thousands of fertilizer bags in for farmers and you help farmers, there must be an end result. So what was the end result as a result of that? And how did that help cushion the effects of poverty? So people cannot, you can't say people should not talk when they are feeling the pangs of hunger. He talks about people being malnourished after COVID. They are trying the best. They are doing school feeding program. Has it stopped people being malnourished? Because people like UNICEF and these NGOs are the ones on the field. They're the ones that are giving people pellets to cure hunger. There are kids that are being malnourished in parts of the north. Is it because we don't bring out the videos and show every time? Is that something that you were also reacting? You felt offended because they say the Naira is worthless. The Naira is worthless now as we speak. Should I give you the empirical facts? When our journalists went to Cote d'Ivoire for the World Cup, do you know, because most of them had not gone to West African countries in a while, they were surprised of how worthless the Naira was to the CFR. The same CFR that the Naira used to worth more than before. They used to, in fact, there was someone that was telling me a running joke that one Alhaji in the 90s promised a lady 1 million. So he didn't tell her the currency. So in the end, he said he promised the lady 1 million CFA. So they were laughing because 1 million CFA was 16,000 naira. Today, CFA is going to 2 times the naira. You want another fact that naira is worthless? The naira is undervalued. A currency that is undervalued definitely has lost a lot of its worth. The other day, Prof was here, and we're talking about the fair value of naira. If you use purchasing power parity, PPP parameter, it's supposed to be around 500 or 600 to the dollar. If you use ref parameter, it's supposed to be about over 1,000 to the dollar. Today is 1,005 something. So, and that also passes through inflationary positions into our currency. It's undervalued. So currency that is undervalued, when you look in relative to the naira, is not as what it used to work before. And people are complaining. We want this country to do well. That's why we talk every time. And please, it's best you people in government to listen. When you do well, when we see the fact, we will report it and celebrate. We are all Nigerians. We are all in this together.
The most basic thing in aviation is security, is safety. I think it was shocking yesterday that we had the news that King Wasiu Ayinde Marshal Anifuoshi, popularly known as Kwam-1, found himself in a situation whereby he had to be engaging the flight authorities with regard to the fact that he was carrying a plastic container, which they said was containing liquid above the limit. The nature of that liquid, even Keyamo, the Minister of Aviation himself, says it doesn't matter. That rules are rules. Now, he refused to drop that flask. He insisted on carrying it onto the flight. That led into an altercation with the pilot, the captain of the flight, who said that flask must be dropped. He refused. The pilot insisted on his being ejected from the flight, upon which he decided to go and stand in front of the aircraft to say that the aircraft would not move. And the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development has provided video evidence to that effect, that he was trying to obstruct the flight. What Festus Keyamo, the minister, described as a hostage situation. So, one, according to aviation rules, safety is important. No person who is flying has the right to jeopardize the interest, the safety, the security of the aircraft itself, and also of all passengers and crew members on board. Two, the minister went a step further to say, however, if the passenger misbehaves in this manner, the pilot also should not have said, oh, I will run the flight, and then you have a passenger running and blocking up and down. And that in itself is something that is totally unacceptable, as Festus Keyamo put it. So, this is the background. Now, how was the matter treated? The pilot was now placed on suspension. Our license was suspended. And then Keyamo came in after reviewing the evidence provided by the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority and said, no, both parties are wrong. Captain Olunoti Ogoyi has no right to say she will fly while there was a passenger standing in front trying to hold the flight to stage, and in fact, by extension, trying to commit suicide. And that the other party should also be punished. And it is on the basis of that that the minister directed that Kwam-1 should be placed on a no-flight suspension for 6 months. So, having established the background and the facts of the case, my opinion is that the minister acted well by preventing a situation whereby the big man syndrome prevailed, because it was the pilot that was first sanctioned, saying we are suspending your license. The minister now said, no, the passenger also behaved very badly. You know, in this country, we have what is called the big man syndrome. If you are a big man, you can get away with anything. The same Kwamwan who was fighting at the airport would not have done that in the US. He would not have done it in the UK. In fact, he would have been arrested on the spot and thrown into detention for sabotaging and posing a threat to the lives of other passengers and for blocking aviation operations. So Nigerians first have to learn the lesson about big manism. ValueJet is owned by an Ijebu man. Now, Kwamwan is the Olori Omoba Akile Ijebu, you know, a very prominent Ijebu chieftain. He should realize that the Ijebu kingdom does not exist, does not extend to the Murtala Mohammed airport. No, that's an empirical fact.
No, I take exception.
No, it's an empirical fact. It does not extend. This is federal government territory. You don't go there and overrule federal authority because you are a chieftain of a kingdom within the sovereignty of Nigeria. The third point is that some people have also read, you know, gender relations into it. Kwamwan saying, I'm a big man, who the hell are you? Pilot. But you see, that's the space of the pilot. And that's why I think that Rontilicious, as she's otherwise called, you know, she also be protected. She's a pilot. She has a right to say, I don't want to carry this passenger. I think that's part of ICAO rules. So it's Kwamwan trying to overrule ICAO regulations. But what is important at the end of the day is that, you know, the Ministry of Aviation, NCAA, they said they are going to investigate, and investigations are ongoing. And whatever they come out with, there's nobody that is above the laws of Nigeria. Whether you are a bosom friend of the president or the Olori Omo Akile Ijebu or whatever, that's irrelevant. When it comes to aviation, where security is very important. And I think that people should speak of for Mrs. Oluranti Ogoyi, who became a full captain in 2021 and who has had experience in this regard. Her husband is even also a pilot. So all the investigations should look at the circumstances that prevail. But I know that in Nigeria, you know, they try to bury things. So Keyamo has shown courage. He must not chicken out, even if he receives pressure from the...
That is Niger Saga. Follow through.
Let me say that fortunately I do not have any written speech by His Excellency, and so I want to be free to speak off cuff. I want to be free, first as Dr. Agbo Emmanuel, to say a few things that you and you here may not agree with. Those personal views, as you get out of here, should be credited to Dr. Agbo Emmanuel. What I want credited to His Excellency is when I'm reviewing the book and whatever I say there finally. I don't know if we're able to stand on these two trajectories. First, let me recognize the ingenuity of the writer, his astuteness, his great insight, and his contribution to journalism. At this note, I will equally want to say he draws some parallel lines between my principal, the governor of Bauchi State, who himself is a journalist, but a journalist of distinction. We have journalists and we have journalists. We must tell ourselves the truth, whether your journalism is tailored towards balancing stories or you want to declare yourself as a partisan journalist, as has been very elaborately told to us by the book reviewer. Ike is a man of personal discipline, characterized by intrepidity, selfless, dedicated to his profession. And that's only how you can challenge status quo the way and manner he has done in the collection of these books. And I say he draws that parallel line with my principal because we all know him. He's a man who fearlessly at all times stands by the truth, presents the truth very nakedly as they are, without recourse to whose ox is God. Here is where I say, if you want to take on this on this aspect of my own personal narrative, don't credit it to who I stand in here for. Unfortunately, and very, very unfortunately, in the last couple of years, we have had a breed of journalists practicing journalism under the cloak of envelopes. And so they are called to build national narrative along falsehood based on who pays the piper. Who said he who pays the piper dictates the tune. Until we get away from this and begin to prioritize national interest, prioritize national stability, prioritize cohesion and what we have coming for us as a nation, until we begin to demean servicing the deep pockets that we always put in all our wares, call it trousers, call it agbada, in pursuance of our profession, particularly the present day journalism. It's only then that narratives can be dedicated. Only then can we have journalists that will stick to a particular line of thoughts, advance on it towards national building. And so, over time, we had a lone voice in the wilderness in Ike. But I want to believe with the review today and believing that outside the 1, 2, 3 roles that we have in this room, we have a handful of journalists. Today's book review, today's publication is supposed to challenge whatever position you had hitherto taken before now. Permit me also to make an observation on the very eloquently the lecture of today, How Did We Get Here? On the final page, the secularity of the nation must be respected. These irreducible minimum conditions are not negotiable. If it does not happen, we will have no alternative but to go our separate ways. An unwanted threat. This does not do the country any good. Not from the age, particularly of those that this country served most. I was speaking with the writer a couple of hours before we came to start this program. And he himself and myself agreed that our generation benefited most from this country. Some of us, 10 years below me, were still happy, were still lucky to be in the university when meal tickets were only 50 kobo, and you had half a chicken as what accompanied it, with no school fees, free accommodations and everything. And so in the act of nation building, there comes a time that truly it becomes utmostly challenging. That crossroad is where we are today. And that crossroad calls for greater dedication and commitment, not seeking separation. That's why I differ with this your position, sir. And I see you a nationalist, a great elder. That which you propound is a doable thing, even if it takes 20 years to accomplish. I'm not asking or advocating in any form for the dismembership of this nation. Now, permit me to observe on the very erudite review of the book by my immediate speaker. You done wonderfully well in all ramifications, bringing out in its clarity, your clarity of mind and purpose, and a seasoned journalist which you are. I stand in all totality with my boss in all that you've said and act. Maybe the only thing to add, we are at a crossroad in this nation at which what we publish is what we are paid to publish. For those of you who believes or whose beliefs hold sincerely the quest for national discourse, the quest for national narratives that gives room for integration and growth, it behoves us to find that common ground, to build that consensus, to issue the narratives that we know and we believe will lead to the growth of this country. I'm just being reminded that I have 3 minutes. I am not ready to even exhaust the entire 3 minutes. Whatever job I am here to do has been done effectively by the two great speakers before me. I am in the sense that yes, our appetite that was supposed to have been whetted by the reviewer, he almost made the book or laid it bare. This is where I said to the extent that now that appetite is no longer there. I thought you would have stopped at a point to allow me to generate that appetite for me to have great sales here today. You did a very wonderful job. I want to ask that based on the exposition of both our keynote address given by our elder statesman and the very elaborate job done by the book reviewer, this is a must read. I recommend it to the Nigerian universities, National Library and all libraries, and to all of us interested in building a greater united Nigeria. Permit me at this point to unveil these two books.
Yes, that is the story of Nigeria.
As you can see them. That's like my brother here. I'm the older brother, by the way. You guys know I came very well. I don't sleep since then. All you guys out there, black boy. Very good. Revolution has just started. Yes, sir. Yes, I don't know anybody from Nigeria who started. So, talking to you from the architect and once in a while, they have to cry. We see whether we are still the people who say we are. So when you try it and it doesn't work, then they capitulate. All right. So thank you, everybody. Today I'm going to give them a bit of a break. Atiku, thank you. I heard you into the statement. Peter Obi, thank you. JG, where you are. Everybody was talking about here, the Jadeo too. Very dark man, Baba Ye, you want, take it back, guys. Oh, Mama P, yes. I never met you, even though I've heard a lot about you in Abuja. I hope to meet you one of these days. I saw Wise Man in Lagos, Jamil, everybody that's singing here, H3, and a crew that came all the way from Lagos. I think they came here for photos and they found this all the time. And I have to also Firstly, thank all those retired policemen that I saw today. We are together until the exit CPS and all our police friends. We have already created a police movement, so they will get. All right, guys. So we're going back to work. Aluta continues. Their father's father. We don't care who they fear for the full country. Yes, it's spite their hand.
Names have been thrown in the mix, including former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan and the 2023 presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi. However, reports have emerged that discussions are underway within the People's Democratic Party to present former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan as his presidential candidate in 2027 general election. Since his defeat in 2015, Jonathan has largely distanced himself from active politics. Multiple reports indicate that alongside efforts to bring Jonathan back, the PDP is also in talks with former Kano State Governor and current Senator Rabi Musa Kwankwaso to have a possible run as Jonathan's vice presidential candidate. Joining us now to discuss Jonathan's candidacy and how it would change the call of the 2027 race is Professor Tuka Mohammed Baba, Publicity Secretary of the Arewa Consultative Forum. Great to have you, Prof. Prof, what's your read about the Jonathan Kwankwaso tickets at a point in time like this? And some people are saying the North will favor it. I'm like, if the North will favor it, hypothetically, I'm not saying the North will favor it because some people are saying the North will favor it, but if they favor it, what is it now that all of a sudden they see in Jonathan now that they didn't see in 2015?
Well, the most immediate is because whether we like it or not, the campaign has started. Two, whether we like it or not, politicians on all sides, I think, in my opinion, are desperate. Desperate for the right team, desperate to appeal to the voter, desperate for relevance, and so on. So it's not new. We have seen this kind of movements before in other elections, all kinds of permutations, all kinds of combinations. What is probably surprising is to say the North will support this or the South will support that and so on. These are all speculations. What we do know is that all the political actors or the major political actors are in this race and everyone to sell their point of view and so on. Whether or not this will pan out, I think it's speculative. When you say the North, but when you say the South, we are not talking of the people. I think we are talking of the politicians and their desire to win elections and so on. But certainly it's interesting to see the extent all parties are going to pull support to bring whoever they think is a heavyweight, quote unquote. So these are interesting times, but we wait to see. I personally think it's a long way to 2027. But of course, desperation is pushing a lot of people into all kinds of combinations and choices.
Absolutely. I'm glad you reiterated the fact that we have a long way to go until 2027, but unfortunately, these are the conversations that are happening as politicians continue to strategize behind the scenes. Now, one major conversation that's happening is the issue of the one term, serving 4 years, of which Peter Obi has come out and made a vow with the people and made a promise that he would only serve one term. So some people are saying that, well, Goodluck Jonathan is preferable because he's only entitled to one term constitutionally. Do you think that this gives Goodluck Jonathan a competitive edge in terms of becoming more appealing to those in the North who feel that in 2031 the rotation must be respected and brought back to the North? So, sir, let me just make my sorry, sir, if I may just make my question clear. Why would Goodluck Jonathan be attractive to the North?
I don't know whether he is attractive or he is not. I think these are permutations and campaign being pushed by politicians. I don't know if Goodluck Jonathan will be attractive to anybody except if he comes out and says exactly what they have for the country, and we'll wait for the voters to see if that is true. But so far, I think most people are just speculating on which part of Nigeria will support which candidate or not. Well, Goodluck Jonathan, on the surface of it, is attractive. Why? Because over time, and especially since 2015, he has accumulated a number of positives. One, he gave up when he thought he lost the election quietly, and he had been living a quiet life, enjoying international recognition, being sent on missions overseas, and so on. And of course, some of the baggage he carried on to 2015, or people thought he was clueless and so on. The development since 2015 seemed to favor him, and so on. So he looks attractive, but I think there is still a long way to go for him to sell himself. Let's not also forget that in the build up to 2023, there were wide speculations that the APC was wooing Goodluck Jonathan to bring him into the fray to stand for election as if he was, quote unquote, forgiven by the same APC that vilified him. In the long run, it did not work out. In the long run, he did not come out openly to say, yeah, he was interested in the position and so on. But, Goodluck Jonathan will be a candidate, but of course he needs to do a lot more to sell himself, to offer himself as an alternative, to show that he's now different from the Goodluck Jonathan we knew. Whether as a person or circumstances have turned out that some of the criticisms against him were simply political and so on. Well, anybody could be a candidate, but I think given the circumstances right now in the country, the difficulties people are facing, the challenging economic conditions, it will take a lot more for a politician, whether they are from the south, the north, or from the moon, to convince themselves, to convince the electorate that they are different, or that they offer a new alternative.
But Prof,
Yes, please.
he stands in that unique situation that he's the only one who only has one constitutional term allowed to him, except of course for the incumbent who also has one term. Is this not something that gets people excited? Because you know that no matter what, he has to go. Unlike Peter Obi, for example, who, due to public demand at the time, may say, well, the people have said I should continue. Is this not a juicy and attractive offer?
Not to me. Let's get this clear. The one-term hubris that is being propounded is not a constitutional requirement. This is not the only time we have had some candidates saying they will go for only one term. Either they never got to do so, or in fact they change their mind. Let's not forget, the late President Buhari, in the build-up to the 2015 election, at some point has said he would go for one term. This did not happen. So the one-term issue is not a constitutional requirement, and you cannot hold anybody responsible for that. And again, to me, it's kind of crass. If, for example, a candidate wins, hypothetically, Peter Obi, and he does very well, and he appeals to the electorate, does it mean that when it's time for the second term, so to speak, he would not contest because he had promised something that is not constitutional? To me, the one-term idea is just a campaign issue being thrown about by politicians, and I think it's an act of desperation. But I think the electorate should be allowed to decide whether a candidate can go for a second term or not. And I think it will be robbing the nation the benefit of selecting a person that they think has served well and will do well and so on. So that leaves us should change. So let's get this clear. The one-time thing is just being thrown about because politicians think that is what the electorate in the north, in the south, or anywhere would like to hear. But I am personally very skeptical about it, and I look at it as just a campaign issue that, well, nobody can listen. Even Atiku Abubakar at some point, I think leading up to 2015, had promised he would work for one term and then help other regions of the country to do. Let's face this. These are just manipulations of opinions, manipulations of sentiments by politicians, and they're whipping up to sway the electorate to their side. To me, I don't give it any serious consideration. This is just a campaign gimmick.
Good to have you. So in terms of one term, everybody, most people say they will do one term. In fact, one of the things that puts Goodluck Jonathan with the North, that puts Goodluck Jonathan in problems with the North, was because in 2011, he said he was going to do one term. In fact, he went ahead to say that he was going to tell the lawmakers to push forward a bill for single-term presidency. But when it was in 2015, the dynamics changed, and it was said that the North punished him. Do you think that the North, for all everybody saying they're going to do one term, do you think the North has a mechanism of punishing people that renege on their words? In fact, I think it was Chief Olusegun Obasanjo in the Bloomberg interview that further stated the fact that President Jonathan had told him that he was going to do one term. And I would like to ask you this second question, Prof. It's a technical question. Politically,
Yes.
culturally, yes, the North is an aggregation of many diverse groups and interests, tribe and religion. But politically, is the North a monolith?
No, it is not. In fact, I think the North is one of the most politically diverse entities of the country. Let's go back to even the immediate post-independent period. The North had many parties. The NPC, Northern People's Congress, was, of course, the dominant party. But there was NEPU. There was the Taka-led Middle Belt Congress. Okay? And so many, if you check the Northern Assembly in the post-independent period, the North had so many other interests that were also represented. They may be minorities. Fast forward to 1979. Again, the North showed itself to be diverse. While we had the GNPP, we had the PRP, we had the National Party of Nigeria. They were all represented at the state and national levels by diverse political interests. Now, fast forward to 2023. Again, this is what we have. The North has, represented its political office holders from diverse backgrounds and diverse political persuasions. I think we make too much of the so-called cultural affinity that push Northerners to one side or another. But I personally think, going through history as I did, the North has been one of the most politically diverse, ideologically diverse entity in the country. And for anyone to claim they speak for the whole North, and I think they are just deceiving themselves. And no one should make any mistake about it. People, so long as it's a democratic atmosphere, the North will continue to show diversity. Of course, it is tempting to look at the major or the overriding political group, but no, the North is more highly diverse than we give credit to it for. But like I said, a lot more can be done.
Okay, Prof. I deliberately asked you the question, is the North a monolith? And I deliberately asked you, and I got the answer I wanted, but I would like to prove to you that it is a monolith politically. Let's go back historically. In the days of NEPUs of this world and MPC, no matter how Aminu Kano held sway, MPC got the largest seats. There was always a dominant party.
Yeah.
In the last election, yes, there was a free-for-all. Peter Obi got about 2 million votes out of the North. Atiku Abubakar got about 3 million votes. the APC still came out on top. Politically, it's still a monolith because a lot of the Muslim North votes thrives over the minority Christian North votes. And it is with that the North bargains whatever it gets politically. So it is a monolith politically, despite the fact that I want to say, oh, it is free across board, and that's what comes to the table. So to further make my argument, when you said that the APC brought about a lot of promises in 2015 and they voted out Jonathan, by 2019, is it that the North didn't see that Buhari was not performing and they still voted in mass again? Because there's a clear question of what has this government not done for the North? This government claims over 50% of the allocation was given to the North. Somebody from the South like me should feel disgruntled about that because we should feel there should be equity. But when you look at the disposition, yes, in terms of landmass, the North is bigger. So I wouldn't take that to heart. My question is, what is it that ought to be done that has not been done? And what will be done to please the North?
Again, Mr. Rufai, I hesitate to speak for the North. I hesitate to generalize on the North. You can't force me to do that because for me the evidence is not as straightforward as you think. When the government speaks of 52% allocation to the North, I laugh because it reminded me of my undergraduate days over 50 years ago when a very good book, How to Lie with Statistics. If it's 50%, let's see it on ground. If it's 50% of a point, let's see it. You can lie with statistics. You can claim everything. There is a difference between actual implementation and statement of intentions. You can do allocations in the budget, but you never implement. You can actually allocate 80%, and if it is not implemented, to what effect? If there is no cash benefit, to what effect? Look at allocations to agriculture. The agricultural production is the backbone of the economy of the North. How much have we devoted to agriculture? Look at allocations. For example, let me give you the recent allocation of funds to universities for... Yeah? Okay, let me finish this. Out of seven universities that were selected for intervention, 4 are in the southwest. I mean, you can talk about it, you can lie with the statistics. What is the effect? To what extent has this been backed by concrete policy funds allocation and actual implementation?
No, but the government said they are doing roads.
Yeah.
The government said they are doing roads. They've purchased 3,000 tractors. Niger is benefiting for it. Niger is having the highest production numbers in terms of some crop. Yeah, that's what this government is saying.
Mr. Rufai, Niger State procured tractors, but that was done, in my opinion, by the state government as it should. You are telling me what the government is claiming. I'm saying we are not seeing it on the road, on the ground. Go to the northeast, see the state of roads. I cannot think of any part of the northeast, for example, that you will have about 250 kilometers of uninterrupted, smooth ride. You can say so for any part of the country. That's what I'm emphasizing, Mr. Rufai, that let's speak of the country as a whole. When you build a road from Maiduguri to Enugu, it's not only the northeast or north central or southeast alone that benefit. All part of the country will benefit from that road. So you have to look at it from the broad national context. And this idea that the North is grumbled, the North is crying, the North is screaming, and so on, I think we are overdoing it. And it adds to the divisive nature of our politics. These are all manipulation by politicians. Whether the government claims it's 52%, I don't see it on ground. The North is still should change. But so is the South. Roads in the South is, and so on. You look at it that way.
let's move away from this idea of the North is a crybaby entity in the country. It is not.
Fantastically put up.